The hairspray is high, the feelings are bigger, and the power chords are about to hit. This episode of Rock Resurgence Radio tackles the titans of tenderness, the kings of key changes. We're counting down the top 10 power ballads. Prepare to belt it out because it's going to be a fist-pumping good time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Rock Resurgence Radio Podcast. My name is Chad Thompson. This is Bergie, my co-host. We are going to do an episode today that is about the top 10 rock ballads. Typically kind of from the 80s. We could have made a lot longer list when we started. We both realized, holy cow, there's a lot of really good ballads out there. So I'm going to talk about mine, and we're going to just kind of go back and forth. But I know Bergie has a couple things he wants to say, so I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, I did want to mention one of our subscribers who I know is not a big ballad fan. That's Phil. I'm talking to you. So I'd still love you to watch this episode because you might get something out of it. But so top 10 ballads, I tried to stick to bands that I would classify as the hairband era type bands.
Me too.
There's a ton of stuff out there. I mean, like Chad mentioned, I could have did a top 100. It would have been harder. Anyway, there is one that I had to put in there that I guess wouldn't necessarily be classified as a hair band. Or actually, I did that, and then I took it out.
Oh, you did?
Yep, and I took it out, and I'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I did want to say something, too, about the word hair band.
I know we keep using that word, and I was actually on Reddit, and somebody was saying how that's a very derogatory term, and they didn't like that. So maybe we should come up with something else.
Well, I use it with great respect.
I do too.
I definitely don't mean anything derogatory.
I don't mean any disrespect. And, we could say hard rock, or we could say glam rock, or we could say sleaze rock, or whatever. But, the bands all kind of fit into, like you'd think of sleaze rock as I'd think like LA Guns and Faster Pussycat and stuff like that. And then glam would, your Poisons and stuff like that, or tough and stuff like that would fit into that. So, where does it end? I think hair band is, for lack of a better term, people know what you're talking about when you talk about it. It's 80s hard rock music.
It probably... Yeah, I'll mention something about it later. Actually, so the band I left out was Aerosmith.
Ooh.
And they have a ton of good ballads.
I know. I got one on my list.
The song I was going to put in there is actually probably, I don't know if it would be like people's top one from Aerosmith, but it was going to be What It Takes.
That's not the one I got.
Exactly. There's so many to choose from.
There is. Just like Bon Jovi, there's probably 10 from them alone.
And Aerosmith spans that, 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, they're not a hair band, really.
Well, they're not really a hair band, but they were
in the mix with those hair bands.
Believe me, they had scarves and frilly stuff on during the 80s.
That's fair, too. So
I would consider them a hair band during that period. Yeah.
But I would strongly argue that hair band is not a derogatory term.
Well, I'm with you. I mean no offense by it. I just do it because I know people know what I'm talking about when I talk about it. Somebody asks me what kind of music I listen to. I say I typically listen to 80s hair bands.
Yep.
And they know exactly what I'm talking about. So,
yep.
So I think we're going to keep saying it because neither one of us can think of a better term for it.
So when I made my list of 10, I left out bands like REO, Journey, Cheap Trick, and I love Cheap Trick, Foreigner. You're not going to hear any Badfinger. Aerosmith, I already mentioned. I left out Meatloaf, things like that. They're just, a lot of those are all ballads. Chicago, an 80s, well, actually 60s, 70s, 80s group, but definitely not. I tried to make it easier for me to make this list, so I self-imposed some constraints on me. Like Cheap Trick, for example, The Flame would fall in this list for me somewhere.
It came out in the 80s. That one
It did. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then
the other thing that I did for my list, and we'll get to it here shortly, is I tried to stick to only one ballad per band. And that was, like I said, a self-imposed constraint. Bon Jovi, for example, could probably have a top 10 list all by itself.
Right.
And I know there's other bands that could do that as well, depending on how large their catalog is. And then one other thing that I did, and when I get to my 10 and 9, I picked some lesser known sort of acts I wanted to get these out there. I know we just finished an episode on hidden gems.
Yeah.
Which you're going to see before you watch this. And, a couple of these hidden bands, or one of these hidden gems, is going to be in there. So that's kind of how I put my list together. I know you might have some repeats in there.
No, I decided not to after talking to you.
Yeah.
I said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. Because, Warrant's one of my favorite bands, and I could have picked 4, 5, 6 from them that I really, really, really like and probably are my actual top 10. But I decided to go with your strategy of getting one from different bands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it made the process of narrowing down easier for me.
It did.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a little bit of a cheat or a hack or whatever. And then I want to say one more thing, and then I'll let you start with your number 10.
Okay.
But we didn't compare lists at all before we started this, other than Chad said to me in a text, I bet you we have the same number 1. And you'll find out. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Okay.
Coming up in a little bit.
You go ahead, Chad. You start your list.
Okay. So my number 10 is Bryan Adams, Heaven. And he's another guy that has quite a few. He's got the one from Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood. That's really, really good. That was going to... Yep. I thought about that one. And I actually consulted my wife on a few of these because she listens to the same stuff I do for the most part. So I said, well, which one did you do? Would you do the Everything I Do, that song, or Heaven? And she goes, Heaven by far. And I said, okay, then we're going that way. So that is my number 10. It came out in April of 1985. Funny story about this song as I was researching it. It actually came out on another album before that in 1983. And it got to number 9 on Billboard. And then on another list, it got up to number 5. But then they re-released it on Reckless, the album where everybody kind of knows that album. I mean, it's just, the whole album is great front to back. They re-released it, and then it went to number 1 on Billboard Hot 100. So I didn't know that. And I was like, holy cow, this came out like 2 years before on a different album. I can't remember the name of the album,
I didn't know
I didn't write
either.
that down.
I do remember it being in a movie.
Yeah, it was on like a... That's when it came out. In 83, it came out for some movie on a different album.
Okay.
And it went to number 9 and then number 5 on a different list. And and then boom, it came out in 85 and it just exploded and went to number 1. So that's my number 10. If you guys haven't heard it, that Bryan Adams Reckless album is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your number 10.
All right, my number 10, like you said, 10 and 9, I got some hidden gems kind of thing. And in our hidden gems episode, I said that this ballad is probably one of the best ballads that nobody's probably heard before. And it's a song called Heart of Gold by Sweet F.A.
Yep, I
I don't
remember
know
you
if you
saying
got
that.
a chance to listen to it.
I did. I listened to that whole album, but for some reason I just can't. I thought it was a very good album. I was very impressed. I thought, shoot, I wish I'd heard of these guys before, but I only got to listen to it once, so to ask me what song was which and that, I just haven't listened to it enough to know.
It's funny that, 8 of the 10 songs that are on my list, I could go and there's a Wikipedia page on the song.
Yep.
My 2 hidden gems, there's not, so I had to dig a little deeper to kind of find some information about it. And actually, I don't know if you're familiar with sleazerocks.com website.
Yep.
They have a bio of Sweet F.A. on there, so I kind of scrolled through that a little bit. The song came out in 1989, which I'll just say it right now. 5 of my 10 songs came out that year.
Well, that's a great year.
I was 18 years old.
You're regraduated.
Yes. So I don't know, but I think a lot of great stuff came out from that period from 1984 to about 92. Just my opinion. But Heart of Gold, I wish I could sing. hum a few bars or whatever. I wish we could kind of play it in the background, but that's just not where we're at this point. I did find on Sleaze Rock's bio page, there's actually a video of a reunion in 2007 they had where there's a live video of that song.
That's cool.
It is kind of cool, but the sound quality is awful once the band starts kicking in, so I had to actually kind of shut it off. But the guy's voice is actually amazing. More so on the album, I just thought, yeah, sounds good. It's great. When I hear this first part of this video, if you go to Sleaze Rocks and check it out, he has an amazing voice. But Heart of Gold, Sweet FA, check it out. You're number 9.
Okay, number 9. And this is partly, this pick is partly due to my wife also. She says, oh, you got to put this on your list. And then I started thinking about it and thought, yeah, you're right. And I'm just going to tell you, when you hear this song in the bar, every girl in there is a small town girl. Right?
I know where you're going.
Right? And this song is Journey, Don't Stop Believin'. I'm just a small town girl living in a lonely world. I mean, that song comes on and every girl in that bar thinks she's a small town girl living in a lonely world.
Born and raised in South Detroit.
Yeah, and the girl starts singing it, and it's a little more up-tempo than a ballad. Like, they have other ballads that would probably go better here, but she says, you got to put that one on your list. And I said, yeah, you're probably right. And Journey wrote a lot of really, really good songs back in the late 70s, early 80s. And when we were talking about it, my wife and I just said, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's funny. It's one of those songs when you go, it's kind of like Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. That song comes on in a bar, everybody gets excited and starts singing it because everybody's heard it and everybody knows it. So that's why it was on my list anyways. It came out in October of 1981. It did go to number 9 on the Hot 100, and on mainstream rock, it went to number 8. So, it didn't get to that number 1 spot, but top 10, geez, you can't complain about that. And I think there was just a story on this song. I think it's the all-time most downloaded song, or something to that.
Along those lines.
Something along those lines. So you might want to do your homework and check that out. I didn't do that. I read the article and I thought, oh, you got to remember that. And of course I didn't remember exactly how it went. But anyways, that's my number 9, and Journey, another good. If you like kind of slower ballad stuff like that, Steve Perry's voice is amazing. Check him out.
Awesome. So my number 9, again, coming from another, they're not really a hidden gem, I guess. They had some hits. This album came out in May of 92, called Wild America by band Tora.
Yep.
And the song is called Faith Healer. Neither this song or my number 10 were a single that I know of. So I don't have a chart position or anything for them or even a release date. But the album came out in 92. The song, you're familiar with the song, Faith Healer?
Yep.
It's the 8th song on the record. This album, I actually found on the Wikipedia page, there's a link to another podcast, sort of, where they had an interview with Anthony Corder, is the lead singer's name. It was kind of interesting.
Well, that's cool.
But Wikipedia is one of those things where
anybody can add information to it. I could go and add information.
I've never done it.
I've never done it either.
But
I've donated before, but I've never done it.
When I get to some of my other songs, there are things that I'm like, we'll talk about that I don't know, that I don't believe that they're true necessarily, or you'll see what I mean.
Take it with a grain of salt on Wikipedia.
When we get there.
It's fairly accurate, but I think there's probably room for, you got to leave some room for error in there, because there is some errors.
Definitely. Faith Healer again, Tora. That's my number 9 song. We want to try to keep these episodes a little more brief than some of our epic hour and 15-minute episodes. So I'm going to kind of move on, but I just want to say a couple of quick things about the song. Starts really slow, like most ballads do, But the guy just wails on the voice when he gets in the chorus. Faith Healer on the album Wild America by Tora Tora. Check it out. That's my number 9.
Number 8. This band, we talked about a little bit in the preface, that probably could have their own top 10. And that's no doubt. They are kind of king of the ballads of the 80s. This song came out in February of 89. And the song is I'll Be There For You by Bon Jovi. This one went to number 1 on Billboard Hot 100. And mainstream rock, it got up to number 5. Like I said, there's numerous Bon Jovi songs that could have been on here. And, you know, I have every reason to be on here. But I had to pick one. And this one is the one I kind of stuck out to me because I used to kind of play the beginning part on the guitar, and a couple of friends of mine would sing it. And so it was kind of cool in that way. So it kind of had a special spot in my heart. You know, I used to play out in the garage, and they used to sing, so it was kind of fun, you know, drink some beers and do whatever. But that's about all I got to say. But I was going to say one more thing, is there possibly will be another part to a ballad, another top 10, for lack of a better word, because there's just so many. So in the future, we'll probably do a second part, and it'll be like top 10 part 2.
Something like that.
Something like that. But, I mean, there's just so many that are good and got left off of both our lists that it'd be nice to get 10 more out there. So at some point in the future, we'll do that. That's my 8, and I'm sticking to it.
Fair enough. My number 8, and I know Chad's going to ask me to pronounce this guy's name because we came up in an episode before, but my number 8 is I'll Never Let You Go. It's also known as I'll Never Let You Go, Angel Eyes in parentheses, from
Correct.
A band called Steelheart. And I'm going to say the guy's name right now, Miljenko Matijevic.
That's awesome.
Pronunciation I had to...
It's a lot easier when you have it in front of you and you can word it out.
Right. Croatian-born singer. He also, just while I'm thinking about it, I mentioned this, Jeff Scott Soto did some of the Steel Dragon stuff for that movie Rockstar. Miljenko did the rest of it.
Yeah.
So when you hear those high voices, and at the end of this song, the last 13 seconds, he hits that note at the end.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
The note itself is 6 or 7 seconds long, and then there's a little, it kind of reverberates in your head. Like if you have that cranked up on your Bang & Olufsen stereo in your truck, or if back in the day we'd have big old speakers back here and rattle the windows kind of thing.
Yep.
That'll break your glass like the old Memorex commercials would. But
yep.
Just a quick few notes about that song. It was the second single from their 1990 self-titled debut album. Peaked at number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 24 on the mainstream rock chart. So, not a huge hit.
I'm surprised.
I thought really good album. You know, I think the timing, 1990, it was released.
Sure enough.
And I don't have a date when it came out. But moving on.
Okay, my number 7 is a song that came out for a movie. And this actually came out in 98. It's from a band, a little-known band that's on his shirt right there.
I know what song you're going to say.
And the movie was Armageddon. And the song was called Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Of course, it's Aerosmith. I pointed to that on Chris's shirt. And I'll tell you what, this song, Steven Tyler is one of those singers that is just, he's kind of like Milenko, or whatever his name is. Miljenko. You know, he can just sing, hit these notes that just are amazing. And when he hits his falsetto, it's just crazy. But I had the privilege, and I talked about this in a previous episode, that I saw him at the fair here 10 years ago, whatever it was. And I'd never seen him before, and they put on a show. And I seen that he is 75. So when he did that, he was at least 65.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, it was amazing. But anyways, that's another song by them. Amazing. That could have been on the list.
Yeah. Crying.
Oh, yeah.
I actually thought about this song as one of mine, too.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the Aerosmith catalog, I picked a different one.
Yeah.
And probably because of the time frame. Like you said, that song came out in 98.
Yep.
And there's something...
My wife wanted me to pick Angel.
Yeah. Yes. I was just thinking about that song, too, when you were talking about...
That was on Permanent Vacation.
I Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Yeah.
That came out when I was probably 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know.
Permanent Vacation. Anyways, that is my number 7, and I will pass it on over to Chris.
Great pick. I can't fault you for that one whatsoever. Wonderful song.
It is. Really good song.
My number 7 is from a band that doesn't have a lot of ballads, L.A. Guns. And it's literally, the title of the song is The Ballad of Jane. So I know it's going to qualify for a ballad here.
Yeah, it's got to.
Interesting thing, and this is actually, it says this on Wikipedia, but I was going through my head hard on this song about Jane. Jane or Jayne.
Yep.
I had thought for all these years, and I still kind of think that this song was about Jayne Mansfield. She was an actress back in the, I don't remember for sure years, 50s, 60s,
and
but
60s,
voluptuous. Yeah. She
beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. Died in a car accident, if I remember the story right, and actually, I think decapitated in the accident. But according to Wikipedia, Tracy Guns debunked that the song was not about Jayne Mansfield. She was an actress, playmate. Anyway, I don't know if that's the case or not. But the Jane, the Jay versus Jane, the album I had, it was spelled Jane. I mean, I can go pull it out of my case.
Really?
Yeah. And what it says here was that on early pressings of the album, it was spelt with an A-N-E. That was the original spelling, and then they changed it to the Jay.
You're probably worth some money.
Maybe. maybe so. But this is actually one of the albums that I probably did buy on day one. I kind of discovered their first album. I don't think there's a ballad on that album at all, but...
No, nothing I can think of anyway.
Great 2 albums, but this song got them some notoriety, of course, being a Hot 100 hit in 1990. It actually was released in 1989. Peaked on the Billboard Hot 100 charts at number 33. The mainstream rock charts at number 25 and 53 in the UK. But great song, in my opinion. Check it out. I'm going to put it on a playlist, and maybe we'll put a link for Apple Music. If any of you are Apple Music subscribers, you can click on it and get our playlists. So turn it back over to you, Chad.
All right. We are down to number 6. This band, kind of quintessential hair band, I think, in the genre of Poison and those bands. And this song was, it got up to number 5 on the Hot 100, and it's by a band called Firehouse. It's called Love of a Lifetime. Seen these guys several times when they played in the North Dakota area, and they really, really did a good job live. It was cool. I saw they opened up for, it was Warrant, Trickster, and Firehouse. Well, I think Firehouse was the second band and Trickster was the first band. But that's the one that I remember the most, but I know I've seen them at least 3 times. And as a matter of fact, I've seen them at Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them there. So a little bar. And every time just sounded excellent, mixed excellent. Everything about their show was pure professional. So I really like them. And if you have a chance, I think they're still doing some stuff. Well, they are, because they were
Rock Timber
last year. Yeah. So anywho, that's my number 6. Hit number 5 on top 100. So it was a pretty popular song. So if you get a chance to check it out.
Again, good pick. it's definitely one that I had on my list of considerations for sure. My number 6, and I struggled with putting some of these in order. This song is actually, it may be the only one, well, I guess we'll see, but it actually hit number 1 on the Billboard charts. And that is by the quintessential hair band, in most people's opinion, probably myself included, Poison. Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Released in October of '88 as the 3rd single from Poison's 2nd album, Open Up and Say Ah. Great album title, too, by the way.
Yeah, the cover was pretty interesting. Got banned.
Let me see for sure where it hit. Number 1, U.S. Billboard Hot 100 for sure. I almost was scared that I misspoke there.
For 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay. This one might be on Chad's list too somewhere.
It is.
It is, okay, fair enough. What were your, recap your 10, 9, 8, 7 real quick for me.
Bryan Adams, Heaven, Journey, Don't Stop Believin', I'll Be There For You, Bon Jovi, Don't Miss a Thing, Aerosmith, and Love of a Lifetime.
Okay, so we haven't had a repeat or
Haven't.
one that we're the same yet on, but
Nope.
this one's going to show up in Chad's list.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
We got another one, I think.
But
too.
Poison, again, like going back to the Bon Jovi, could pick a 5 or 6 Poison songs. Probably 3 for sure, at least, that
I
would
Won't
fit
Forget
the bill
You.
for.
I mean,
And probably not necessarily my favorite Poison song, or even maybe my favorite Poison ballad, but this has to be in the top 10.
It has to be.
It hit number 1, kind of put them on the map as far as a power ballad.
Yeah, it absolutely did.
Yeah, and I mean, they had a ballad on Look What the Cat Dragged In, which I like a lot too. I Won't Forget You, I can remember that.
Yep.
Hearing that for the first time.
Yep.
But yeah, in the keeping it brief, I'm going to move on, let Chad go down to his next one on the list.
Okay, my number 5 is by a British band from Britain. I think they're from Great Britain, I think. Well, anyways.
A British band from Britain?
Yeah, Britain, yeah. Wherever. I don't know my European countries.
Sorry.
Anyways, from the UK.
Nice.
That is Def Leppard. And again, this is another band. You could probably have 10 of their songs that would be on there. But the one that I picked is Hysteria. Came out in January of '88. It got to number 10 on the Hot 100 and number 9 on the Mainstream Rock. And that really surprised me because I thought that went to number 1. Or it should have gone to number 1 in my opinion, because it is just a really, really good song. I mean, it's an ass grabber for sure. I mean, you get that playing in the bar and you get a good crowd, they're going to go out on the dance floor and they're going to have some good times out there. So, just going to keep it brief. And Def Leppard, I think everybody knows Def Leppard and know how good they are. I mean, their newer stuff I'm not a big fan of, but they're, up through Hysteria, and it was just amazing stuff. So that's my number 5. On to you.
All right, my number 5 is a song called Love Song by Tesla. Came out in 1989. Surprise, surprise. Reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. And was, of course, on the album The Great Radio Controversy, their follow-up to Mechanical Resonance. We had a discussion about this before, and I actually prefer this album as a whole versus the other one. Great song. I wish I was more eloquent with my words, but that's really about all I can say about it. I mean, just the lyrics. I feel like that's a song where it's almost like he's singing to a girl that he just dumped, maybe, or but he's talking to her about open your heart, and love is gonna find a way, kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, and maybe I'm misconstruing it all together, but it's just a fabulous song from start to finish.
Yeah,
and I feel like it got more popular as time went on a little bit, even though like it charted. What did I say? It was 89. Well, number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. I guess it doesn't say here when it charted. It says 89 to 90. I kind of feel like it probably did chart in 90, actually. But the song came out in 89 in August, so it makes sense. It'd take a few months for it to grab hold.
These last couple songs you've had were on my list.
Yeah.
They just didn't get picked. But,
Yeah.
Well, very, very much could have been picked. And this song, that Love Song, was really close to being on my list. If I had 11, that would have probably been number 11.
Just another spoiler alert, but going back to your Def Leppard, they had so many to pick from, and I went back and forth about Love Bites even being a ballad, but Hysteria it is the best ballad for sure on that record, and I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger hit.
Me either. I thought that would be in number 1 when I was looking it up, and I was like, holy.
There were so many hits off of that album.
Oh, yeah. There's got to be 6, 7 hits off that album.
And that was probably 6 or 7 in the order which they were released.
Yeah.
That was one of the later releases off of that album, if I remember correctly.
I think so. I think you're right. So that could have part to do with it, but yeah.
But what we're up to number 4 now.
Number 4. I'm on number 4. This band is... This is another band. I had couple different songs by them. I had one off their first album, which I really, 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 really like, but it's just a little more rockin', and so I thought this was a more appropriate ballad. The band is Cinderella, and the song I picked is "Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone," and on their first album, I really like Night Songs. But it's just a little more hard edged than this song.
That doesn't feel like a ballad to me.
Night songs?
No.
Yeah, it's slow. So I kind of think it's kind of a ballad, but it's a pretty rockin' ballad.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked this one. And this one came out in 88, August of 88. It went to number 12 on the Hot 100 and number 10 on Mainstream. And as far as that goes, like Hysteria, I was surprised it was so low, but this one, that's pretty good for when I was looking it up. I wouldn't have thought it went that high, actually.
Yeah, great song.
Because it doesn't seem like it was that popular back in the day.
I'm glad that was your number 4.
Yeah.
Super glad, because... Well, let me know when you're done talking.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm good. Yep.
So I want to do my number 4, but Chad's number 4 was senior prom song for me in high school.
Oh, really?
That was the song at our senior prom. I'm sure it was. And my number 4 was the song at our junior prom. Chad had to pick a Bon Jovi song. I had to pick a Bon Jovi song. We didn't have to, but you
almost have to.
Yeah. So I picked a different one, and I'm glad I did. But mine, I'll Be There For You, is a great song. This one, maybe it's the nostalgia of it, prom song, whatever. Never Say Goodbye. It says it came out June 15th of 1987. Which junior prom for me would have been May of 88. So
yeah,
song had been out for a little while.
Yeah.
And actually when he was talking, I was looking at this and I was thinking that might have been a prom for me as a sophomore. But it couldn't have been if it came out in June of 1987. Anyway, Never Say Goodbye, Bon Jovi. That peak position on the Hot 100, where is it? U.S. Hot 100, 28. So it wasn't super a hit, really, for him.
But these are kind of our top, and they're in our top for a reason, and that's a good reason.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I talked people junior year, we picked for the senior class. And I talked people into a Black and Blue song. And god dang it, I can't think of the goddamn thing right now.
Yeah,
I'll Be There For You, I think it's called.
I feel like we did that too as juniors.
Yeah, and I talked them into it, and it was a bad choice by me. I mean, I'm glad I got my way, but it was a little faster than you want.
Yeah,
it's not a real ass grabber.
Our class picked the Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone song.
Yeah.
But that would have had to be my senior prom.
I think that's how it works in those small schools. The juniors pick, because we decorated and everything for the seniors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe we picked the song and the seniors picked it and we decorated as juniors.
Maybe, I don't know.
But anyway.
That was a long time ago.
It did reach number 11 on the mainstream rock chart 87, 88. Great song, great album. I think someday we should do a Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet versus New Jersey episode.
Oh, I know what one's all right now. I can tell you right now.
Okay, well, save it just in
Yeah,
case.
I'll save it.
So where we're at with number 3 now.
Number 3, and I'm very, this could have been my number 1, but now it couldn't have been because that number 1 is what it is. And this is by a band called Skid Row. And this song is so good. And if you listen to it, the way he sings on this song is nothing short of amazing. His voice is just so powerful that it's hard to, you can't dismiss him easily because he's that powerful a singer, kind of like Steve Perry, but really, really good song. This one went to number 6 on Billboard and number 23 on Mainstream. And, in 89, this probably was in 90 when it hit the charts because this came out in November of 89. So it had to be 90 when this charted. That's very respectful. Getting to number 6, that is pretty good.
Still haven't said the name of the song.
Oh, I Remember You by Skid Row. I'm sorry, I didn't say the name. God dang it, I told you it's Skid Row and I didn't tell you the name. Well, they don't have too many ballads, so it wouldn't have been too hard to figure out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that whole album is so good. It would be one of my favorite debut albums of all time.
For sure.
It would be right up there, and there's some good ones. Anyways, that's my number 3. Yours.
That would be another good episode, Skid Row versus Slave to the Grind. Anyway, throwing that out there.
Yep. We got to do this for 10 years to retire.
I know. Awesome pick. I love that song, and you're going to find out how much I love it in a little bit.
I was just thinking that.
So another spoiler alert.
Yeah.
That's one of mine, too. My number 3, though, is from probably... Well, I don't know that I can definitively say they're my top favorite band, but they're pretty close, and that's Guns N' Roses, and the song is November Rain. Just an epic song. The song pushes, I think, 9 minutes in time. I didn't even do my research to see where this charted, if it charted at all. I'm sure it did.
That had
yes, do U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and only made it as high as number 3. And maybe the song is epically long. There's 2 unbelievable Slash solos in there.
Yeah. I can see the video now.
You can see the video with him standing outside the church just wailing on that.
And then there's one where he's out in the middle of the desert.
Or Les Paul, right?
Yeah. Les Paul is what he plays. Yep, Gibson.
Yep. Not much more I can say about that song.
Epic choice.
Yeah, long. I had to have a Guns N' Roses song on there. There are a couple of other Guns N' Roses ballads, but this is the one.
Don't Cry, and what else?
Well, you could call Patience a ballad.
Oh, yeah. My wife and I discussed that. She goes, "Does Guns N' Roses have any ballads?" I said, "I suppose you'd go with November Rain, Don't Cry," and I didn't think of Patience, but I was like, that's probably about it.
Yeah. When you have a song with a whistle solo at the beginning.
Yeah, that's classic. Who can't whistle that, man?
Yeah, but
But November Rain, great song. It was on my list. It just, I know you're a big, and here we go. Here we're having some more matching. Chris already talked about this one, so I'm just going to tell you my number 2 is Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison. I think he already went over this. October 88, number 1 on Billboard Hot 100 for 3 weeks, and number 11 on Mainstream Rock. I'll keep short and sweet because he already talked about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep my number 2 short and sweet too because it's I Remember You by Skid Row. You were talking about Sebastian Bach. He's a rock god.
He really
realistically
is.
I mean, he looks the part. His voice is unreal. He's got a new album coming out.
He does.
There's a song out,
There's 2 songs out now.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I've heard.
Second one not as good as the first one.
No, not quite. Interesting song.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to an album review of that someday. I think it comes out in July for some reason.
I think so too.
But yeah, just
when you say rock god, I I've seen him a couple times. As a matter of fact, I've seen him when Pantera opened up for them, and which was really cool. Because Pantera went on to be a really huge act and a headliner and blah blah blah, and a lot different kind of music than Skid Row. And then I seen him up at Rock in the Hills, and when you said rock god, all I could think was him climbing that thing in those red tight leather pants without a shirt on and just wailing and hanging off the side of it.
And he's flipping his hair around. That's a pretty signature move by him.
He's got that long middle of your back hair, and he just looks the part, man.
100%. When you were talking about you're trying to find the words to describe his voice, in the song, I kind of, this song gives me chills.
It does, yeah.
In some ways, a lot of sentimental value to this song for me too. But yeah, he
can sing the what was that in the in that Warrant ode to Tipper Gore? Sing the hair off my nuts.
Yeah, scream
the hair off my nuts. Yeah, he could scream the hair off his nuts.
He definitely can.
And that's he is just a phenomenal singer.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever get this like from a song or a movie or a TV show, like a heartwarming moment or something where you just just you talking about him singing it made me feel that certain way when I hear it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing song.
I get that too. I'll get the goosebumps sometimes.
Yeah, goosebumps. That's probably the word I was looking for.
I get those too. When certain songs are on or somebody's talking about it, I just kind of like, oh my God. It reminds you of a certain time and a certain feeling, and it just kind of brings you back there and you get a goosebumps. All right, shall we move on?
Yeah, we're at the end.
We're at the end. And you'll find out that, never mind. Mine is one of my all-time favorite bands. They're in my top 5 for sure. And that band is Warrant. And I think we talked about them in an episode. We have
a little bit for sure. We talked about this song a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the song's called Heaven, and there's numerous that I could have picked. I could have did a top probably 7 or so of Warrant ballad songs. This one came out in '89, great year. Chris is going to talk about this also, so I'm just going to say, there's one thing I got to say about this song. So there's a line in the song. It says, I wrap my arms around you so I can feel you breathe. Mm-hmm. And my wife will think this is great because every time we sing it and we're in the car, I say, I wrap my arms around you so I can feel your tits. And
that's a very Chad thing to say for sure.
Yeah. So she gets a kick out of that, and I told her I was going to say that on the episode, and she said, "Oh, great, that's fun."
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, so that's my number 1, and
that's mine too.
Yep.
And I talked about this on a previous episode. I know from the top of my head, I don't even have to look at my notes or whatever about it, but I know it reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it was kept out by Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You from Milli Vanilli was the number 1 song 2 weeks in a row. I can remember September 24th, 1989, in my wife's parents', her bedroom, hanging out there and listening to, I'm pretty sure it was Casey's Top 40 at that time, or maybe American Top 40, but Casey Kasem talking about the songs, introducing them all. September 24th, oddly, is one of my kids' birthdays. But I did Google the date, because I was trying to find the date. And so it would have been on a Sunday, September 24th, 1989. This reached its peak of number 2.
That's cool.
So, but like Chad said, I'm going to pile on.
Your song, you probably better mention that.
Yeah. And this is our song. And that goes back to that
Not
date.
Ours.
Yeah. Mine and my wife's, Chad and I don't have a song.
Not yet.
Not yet. But this is our song for sure. This comes on. Hey, they're playing our song.
Yeah.
That's most
like
couples probably have a song of the sorts or whatever, and that stemmed from that time, that I met my wife in 1989, and that song came out in 1989. Half of my songs are from 1989.
Yeah, great year, man.
Yeah, very good year. Graduated high school in 1989. But that's our top 10. We both are in agreement on Warrant Heaven, #1 ballad in our top 10.
I struggle. I struggled not putting I Saw Red on there because I love that song so much.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good Warrant songs.
But I want to. It's kind of funny. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Speaking about my wife and stuff, and I was doing my list and whatever, and she's kind of helping me out, and she goes, "Can I do a list?" And I said, "Absolutely." So today, when I was at work, she texted me her list, and I thought, that's a pretty damn good list. And she has a song on here that from my favorite band that I wouldn't have. I'll get to it here in just a second. But anyways, I'm going to read her list. I'm going to do it really quick. Her number 10 is Angel by Aerosmith. And she's number 9 is Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison, which I kind of surprised it's down at number 9 for my wife because I know she really likes that song. But this next song, Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. They are my all-time favorite band, and I almost ditched one of my songs on my list to put that on there. I mean, but it's not really Hair. It's, Metallica.
Yeah.
So I just said, another time that song will be brought up and we'll talk about it. So I left it. Anyways, her number 7 is Take It on the Run by REO Speedwagon. She's a big Speedwagon fan. Yeah. I'm not so much. I like some of their songs, like the song she picked, Take It on the Run. I like that song very much. But there's just, there's not enough meat on the bone for them guys. I don't like enough of their stuff to matter, I guess. Her number 6 is Ballad of Jane by LA Guns, which was on Chris's list, and it was almost on my list. Her number 5 was another Def Leppard song that we talked about.
Yeah, I mentioned
but
it.
You had mentioned it, but hers is Love Bites. And then she talked me into that Journey song, and then she picks a different Journey song. What in the hell?
Great song.
Yeah.
Good
but
pick, Don.
her number 4 is Open Arms by Journey. Very good song. Her number 3 is Hysteria by Def Leppard. That was also on my list. And her number 2 and number 1 was both of ours. Yeah. I think it was number 3 for me. And
yep. I matched my number 1 and 2 for sure.
Yep, she matched his. So her number 2 is I Remember You by Skid Row. And number 1, 3 out of 3, Heaven by Warrant.
Must be something to it.
It's a great song. It should be everybody's number 1 ballad as far as I'm concerned. We should make it a law.
Rest in peace, Janie Lane.
Rest in peace, Janie Lane. And, so that's this episode. We're going to wrap it up and just say, hey, we appreciate all of you guys who are watching. I know that we don't have a huge Kiss Army or anything like that yet, but we're trying to grow this thing. We're trying to get it out there, and I hope you guys enjoy it. We have a lot of fun doing it. That's why our episodes end up so damn long, because we can't shut up about it. Anyways, if you liked what you've seen here, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. In the notes part of or the comments part of the video, we'll have links to a bunch of stuff. He'll have a link to his top 10 ballads. I'll have a link to my top 10 ballads, and maybe I'll even make one for Don's. And if you click on those, if you're an Apple Music subscriber, it'll take you right there, and you can add that to your playlist, which is really cool. Anyways, I'm going to cut it short here, and I'm going to let Chris say a couple words, and then we'll be wrapping this whole episode up.
Yeah, well, again, like Chad said, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Subscribe, all that good stuff. I think I say all that good stuff a lot, but
yeah, that's all right.
I'm going to try this. If it's not here, sorry, but I'm going to try to put a link to one of our other videos in here. So if you like what you see here, click this link right here and watch another one of our videos. But thank you for watching, and that wraps it up for me.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much. We'll be back. We're going to try to do this every week, and so far we're on track. So we will continue to release on Friday mornings, weather permitting. Just kidding. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed our content. If you did, please subscribe, share, and tell your friends. We'd greatly appreciate it. Links to everything we discussed will be included in episode notes. Feel free to check those out as well. Until next time, stay golden, Pony Boy, and rock on.